Welcome back to another episode of Cookie Anatomy. This is where we break down the ingredients in a cookie and see how it affects the anatomy or the makeup of the final cookie that we have. This week we did sugar, but before we get into the cookies, let's first talk a little bit about what sugar is.
White sugar is made by refining and crystallizing sugarcane juice.
So what we're left with is a refined sugar syrup that gets crystallized into the white sugar that we use day to day. But one of the things that we take out of sugar to make it white sugar is molasses. And molasses is effectively the difference between white sugar and brown sugar.
Sugar on its own is mildly hygroscopic.
And what that means is that it pulls moisture in from the environment and it keeps it.
And this is what creates that soft and moist texture in your cookies. With brown sugar, the liquid from molasses actually makes it more hygroscopic, which is why it tends to result in that even chewier and softer cookie than with white sugar alone.
Some other things to note is that brown sugar is slightly acidic. A lot of cookie recipes use baking soda, and baking soda is an alkaline leavener that requires acidity to actually activate it and create the bubbles that cause the baked good to rise. And by rising, it's not only rising vertically, rising really just means expansion. But yeah, all right, let's see how these cookies taste. So I'm gonna start with white sugar. So first thing I notice is that she is actually quite thick. And also the other very apparent difference is the color. The texture immediately does look a little bit cakier. There's definitely like this light crispness on the outside. Something I'm noticing is that the dough itself is actually not very flavorful. Also, the actual center of the cookie is not quite as chewy. It's more of like a light, soft cakiness to it. All right, let's move on to the half and half. Oh, immediately I can tell this cookie has a lot more of a bend to it. Oh, it also smells a lot more caramelized. Immediately, the actual cookie part has so much more flavor and there's a noticeable chew. The edge still has a crisp to it, but it's not quite as much of like a shattering crisp. There's a little bit of a give to the crisp. Let's try the all brown sugar one. The first thing to really note is that this is substantially thinner. Also has a very similar feeling of breaking apart, that kind of softness, that give that the half and half did. This one, you can definitely smell the molasses. Holy moly. The flavor is much like a molasses cookie. The texture, this like kind of dense, wet, chewy texture. I will say that it takes a little bit away from the chocolate. The edges where it's crispy, leaning a little bit more crunchy. But wow, who would have thought that sugar would make such a big difference to the cookies? I'll see you next week. Next week we're doing flour. I think that'll be a fun one. So see you guys next time.